All right, welcome and thank you everyone for joining the Internet Value Foundation New York, episode 98. And for all of those who come and listen to the spaces and information in the future, I hope not only today that this information from the diverse amount of mindsets and perspectives and highly intelligent individuals that come in here uh, um, are a benefit, but to think, hundreds of, or, even thousands of years in the future, these audio files might be able to be recorded and utilized in a manner of historical context. So I think it's very interesting when you think about it. But welcome, Shellfish, welcome up. Cheesecake, Zara, Fridge, We United, and Paul, welcome to the space. Feel free to hit the request if you guys want to come up and speak about anything about the topics above, or anything on your mind about distributed ledger technology, or anything involving the Internet of Value. Welcome up, Shellfish.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon.
Give me a moment. I'm going to grab some things to post above in the on the bubble, and we can start speaking about. Um, I know something that you wanted to speak about the other day that we didn't get a chance to, which was the Einstein boson effect, Bose-Einstein. Sorry.
I'm always down for some Einstein boson. Cheesecake, I like that you're participating in more of the spaces. It's nice having you here again. You kind of come and go.
Yeah, I agree, and I sent him a space earlier today. They were speaking about manifestations, and it was an enjoyable space for the time that I was listening to. And Cheesecake went up and spoke. It was cool. It was cool to listen to. It's also if you want to bring it up and hear Cheesecake and speak about anything on that neuroscience and neurolinguistic um, premise, please feel free to come up and speak about it. But I did just grab the post just in case anybody wants to read it as well, because it's interesting. It has to do with superfluids, right? So when you think about what is a superfluid, it's a reaction of molecules that, in a fluid-like motion, can create a state in where it never ceases the velocity of movement. And so, theoretically, um, if you were to take a superfluid and to spin it in a circle, right, in a cup in outer space, it would theoretically spin in this cup in outer space for forever, with the right set, of course, of atoms and temperature and pressure, and so something that was just recently done in the International Space Station, which they've had the ability to and achieve some tests since 2018 with the cold atom lab, which is able to go down to negative 273 degrees Celsius, or pretty much absolute zero, which is the coldest temperature that we at least know of in the universe, theoretically can exist in the universe. But in that temperature, um, atoms themselves begin to slow down and their edges blend together, and so it makes it easier to study these quantum effects between atoms that are interacting with each other. And I'm just going to look up the two atoms. Actually, wait, no, I know it off the top of my head. Potassium and uh, ru- mm, I know the word in the top of my tongue, but I'm going to just read it real quick. Let me find it. Rubid- Rubidium, I think it is. Yep, rubidium. So potassium and rubidium, where they've used these two different atoms, and in this this state of cold and pressurized vacuum, they've been able to create a superfluid motion in the atoms. And so, of course, it's a manufactured state in the means of it's not something we see that would would exist in nature, that at least that we haven't seen so far, but we've been able to create it, and they're coining it this fifth state of matter.
How would this translate over to like the quantum computers using the superfluid state? Does it like would you be able to see transactions actually happening? Like slow
I'm
things down? Like I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm not sure if a superfluid or superfluid conductivity, thinking about the motion of or the velocity of atoms interacting with each other in this kind of um, forever existent state. I don't know if it would necessarily mean anything to quantum computers, but to space travel could be extremely important. And overall, just the ability to study atoms and molecules.
Hey, look, Rose is here. Hi, Rose.
Hi, Rose. And so towards the end of the space, I'm going to I'll touch on Zaha and Evernote. I'm going to at least give it a good 45 minutes. I'm going to go over the Evernote airdrop, all of the details on such that we have available, and what the next steps possibly could be, and then some cool maybe application ideas and different things that Zaha and Evernote already can do, and already I think show really awesome promise to be able to execute logic flow between the XRP ledger and Zaha.
Well, I wish I could interact more, but today's my pickup day, so I'm gonna kind of be in and out of conversation.
I'm sorry, what was that, Shellfish?
This is my pickup day, so I'm kind of limited in how much I can interact right now.
No, don't even worry about it. I'm gonna go grab some more stuff to put up top. Give me 1 second. And anybody in the space, please feel free to come up if you have any questions. Also, type them in the bubble at the bottom right.
So I was reading. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay,
good.
so I was hello, hello. I was reading that thing and it was saying something about they could make a gyroscope sensor. So would that mean basically that our universe would have a magnetic north and south? essentially, a top and bottom.
Looks like IOV kicked Death Ranger out of his own space.
All right, I'm sorry about that. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Fridge just asked you a question.
I got rugged. I had a phone call and then my phone spazzed out, and then X didn't really like that either. So, but I am back. Sorry.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
uh, uh, Feel free to re-ask the question though if you would like.
So I was just reading over it, and it stated something about a gyroscope sensor. So that would mean that in a sense, that this our universe has a uh, north and south to it, right?
Oh, it's very interesting that you say that. So, um, it's not that it's a north or south, and so this is very interesting when you think of atomic clocks, right? Because it's using magnetation, right? It's using the the measure of atoms, right? An atomic clock, and so it's not that it's necessarily that we have a north or a south, because if we look at the universe, the universe looks very flat, uh, two-dimensional rather than three-dimensional, right? It's not until we are upon objects and we observe them that they seem three-dimensional to us in space. Um, it's so it's an interesting um, thought. But when you speak about a gyroscope in outer space, this particular thought could be used to say if we venture from the Earth, we could measure the atoms of the exact existence of the particular measure of the entanglement that we believe to be from the atoms on Earth, right? That we started that, I guess, the particular measure of clock on, and so leaving and going far from Earth may provide a like we think of as a compass back to the Earth. Or combining the I don't know if you posted that actually, Shellfish. Did you post that on your page or was that just in the messages?
I'm sorry. What did I post?
The graphine
Oh,
being
I posted it in messages. I just happened to come across that. I was like, oh, this is an interesting concept with the helium inside graphene oxide.
well, so the helium is being
Yeah.
used to expand the material of the graphite oxide, and so what they're also doing is being able to create a lot more holes in the said material. And so when you think about sensors, going to even the superfluid test that we were speaking above, and the thought of like the gyroscope, or just really being able to to use sensors to detect the changes in atoms in these different types of conditions, um, a material like that we could really be helpful, right?
So for some reason, I remember my mom saying that like she touched mercury from like the thermometer when she was younger, and it's very toxic. But there was something I read the other day that said it was not toxic to humans. Is that am I mistaken? Like, was that something they just told her when she was younger? Like, you're not supposed to touch mercury.
You touch it, one thing; consume it, extremely toxic.
It
uh,
must have just been like, don't touch it, because the glass maybe I don't know. But yeah, I remember her always saying that she had touched it when she was a kid, and like you weren't supposed to touch it because it was toxic.
Yeah, well, the thing is kids then put their fingers and stuff in their mouth, and then that can very well be toxic, and that's why they stopped using it in thermometers. Because once they broke and it was around a kid or something, like they touched it, and then it could be very um, dangerous. And then, of course, the person tries to sue the company, and this is just these become large issues when you have large populations. So it's why they stopped. Mercury is a very interesting substance. In particular, I think there's a lot of untapped potential with the use of mercury and inside of theoretical technologies that we may come to in the future. But yeah, I mean today, helium, right? We're using helium 3, and graphene to create better measuring sensor tools that we can shoot atoms and lasers through to kind of tell the difference in the electromagnetic field that exists inside of these small little molecules, and then take something like a quantum computer that can process all of that information extremely quickly. The the thought of the amount of different types of materials and industrial outcomes we'll be able to have on a global and then multi global scale is really, it could potentially be this Cambrian explosion where 15 years from now, I think the reality of the sociological structure and the physical structure and the technological means of the way our society interacts will be entirely different.
Do you think they'll ever be able to find a use case for Mercury like they did in I know it's just a movie, but like Terminator 2 where the what was it, the bot from the future was actually like an artificial liquid intelligence. Do you think it'll be like a combination of that?
Was he made of mercury or was it aluminum? I actually never really even questioned that.
I think it was an alloy.
It was an alloy. That's what it said. I remember, right? An alloy. Aluminum would be that my thought of the alloy that would have been used, but right, because it broke down and it was able to rebuild. Um,
I want to say it was a titanium alloy.
this would also make sense. Maybe the combination of both. That because an alloy is technically a mix of metals, right? If I'm not mistaken. But uh, hmm, hmm. I'm gonna look this up now, Shellfish. And welcome 808 to the Spaceman. And anyone else, if you guys want to come up and speak or have any questions, feel free to hit the request and come up and speak with us.
808, it's just Shellfish asking weird ass like off the wall questions today. So I'm sure you're more than welcome to come up and throw out some real content because I'm like just being really silly today and quite entertaining.
I'm just grabbing a couple more posts in concert with the stuff we're talking about right now. Sorry.
The alloy is a mimetic polyalloy, programmable metal.
Polyalloy. Interesting.
No, mimetic, M-I-M-E tick, mimetic polyalloy. I think it's all fantasy.
Definitely. Because poly is plastic.
Mimetic is what you're saying. So it's a mimicry, a metal that is mimicking. That's wild.
There's quite a lot of studies that's been going around with programmable metals, such as smart materials being able to program mechanical properties, but be able to change its its characteristics based on external stimuli, say if you have an impact or something like that, it will be able to change its structure to be able to withstand that impact, but also be like in a state of liquid, which they have something that they can use to reference such things, such as what's that oblique thing? Yeah, like that. You know what I mean? But I didn't catch what you were referring to. I just caught the tail end and kind of went from there. But we do have some things as programmable metal, like 3D printing using metallurgy, which is pretty crazy. You know what I mean? That is something that has been getting worked on for quite some time as well. But in a more sophisticated state, it's kind of hard to kind of pinpoint a lot of their research facilities because research data, because some of them is still yet not known to the public, which is like materials for electromagnetic waves and programmable shape memory alloys to even noise canceling acoustics in metals. A lot of it is being tested at a military state level and at a NASA level. So, you know, a lot of that information still won't be out, but I believe they're still yet there for like in biomedical research. There's a lot that has been able to been produced for us to be able to look at. It's pretty crazy to see a lot of that research get actually like with a lot of the newer technology that's come about, like AI and a lot of these other things, also had a boost in productivity and creation on the research level that provides a foundation to build products that we could use, which is crazy. Like with LiDAR, you know, LiDAR's penetration and information that it shares, now we are able to break it down at much deeper level of understanding of the different things within the soil and down to the dates of when that actually happened deep in the Earth's core, which is pretty crazy.
808, do you think this metal would hold up in salt water, like say in an aquarium?
You know what's crazy about that? We would have to look at what's those projects that we're sending they're sending capsules or pods for server stations underwater. I think believe Microsoft guys were doing that where they would send it deep on the ocean where um they're trying to create a metal to kind of withstand that deterioration from salt. I forget what it was called, but I believe they already have something, but I could be wrong. But you know what's crazy? There's also ancient
So
techniques with
you
cement
could
being able to get
they're they're
stronger. What was that?
they're 3D printing they're 3D printing this metal stuff, and then they're already testing it under the water, like in salt water.
Well, I can't say for certain, but I believe their research that they went into research to create a capsule that could be able to go underwater to house these servers, but they wanted to create a metal in a capsule that could withstand deterioration because they wanted that capsule to be able to last longer underwater. I have to look for it. That was a few years ago. I remember reading about it, but that they were sending it to kind of test. Forget now. Wait, hold on. I go look for it.
Dear God, my life is a simulation.
You say it like it's something that's, if so, something wrong with it. But I did also post this post up top from the Department of Science. There, they speak about being able to control the properties of materials through nanoscaling and manufacturing the material, and that's that's definitely the direction for shore shellfish, whether it be in the ocean dealing with saltwater, particular types of materials. It's conceptually the idea that we'll be able to take whatever the circumstances and be able to assimilate atomic properties and make a material that'll be best suited to be in that environment.
So it's the Microsoft were testing data centers on the ocean floor, and they were doing stuff. Project Natick. I would have to relook and look more into the files and read up on it again. But that's where I found the different metals that they were trying to use. Pretty cool stuff though, man.
I totally remember reading about that a couple years ago as well. And yeah, I have also seen, I don't know if you've ever seen that 808, like this concrete that has like crustacean built into it. And so it gets damaged and it kind of grows back just like sea coral. I thought that's a pretty cool concept also.
That's what I was gonna talk about because I forgot what ancient race, but their ways of creating cement was a lot stronger than what we use today, and over time it got even stronger, which is wild, right? Imagine being able to use that mixture and that right mixture of ingredients that they had created to allow that, even with on the edge of the ocean, where the seawater also helped it gain more strength over time.
Yeah, that's a cool material to think to be able to use to build large structures in the ocean. But we have Vet. Welcome to the space, man.
Hello, hello, hello. How you doing, guys?
I'm doing well. I'm glad you're here. I
You've
also
been
have
busy, yeah, bro. I've been seeing you've been putting out some things, man.
Yeah, here and there, trying my best,
I've been
listening,
sitting on the
learning,
back burner and just watching everyone's
chilling.
things go on. I'm trying to finish my project I have going on before I can move to the next steps.
Nice. I see Shelly here too, Death Ranger, of course, and is the fridge a very, very rare guest?
Oh, hello, hello, hello. Hi, Vet.
How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
Perfect. I like your
And
profile picture.
oh
You have a
yeah, man.
casino coin up and holding it up in the air.
Is that what that is? I don't know what that is. I 808. Um, did you beat Starfield yet?
I haven't even gotten to play it yet, bro. How wild is that?
Oh God, it gets so deep at the end. It totally puts the whole point of humanity in question.
My next vacation, I'm gonna have time, guaranteed.
what do you mean by that, Rich?
Well, I don't want to spoil anything. Sorry, I said anything, but
Oh,
I was trying to so the whole gyroscope part about these new frozen particles that they can create to help create a gyroscope. I mean that immediately made me think of space travel. Because you need a gyroscope for to navigate. So I was like that. This is awesome. So pretty much that was just my thought.
You know what's wild about that thought that you just talked about the gyroscopy and all of that? There's actually has been studies in 2015 about quantum enhanced gyroscopy techniques and mechanisms to where they can allow certain things to happen. Which they're talking about interformity schemes based upon atoms trapped within a certain state, which is wild that they have a game now. And fast forward that kind of like how you just mentioned. Now I want to play it more, but I don't have time, which sucks.
Well, now I just want to talk about the game, and so I'm not going to do that. But it does, in my opinion, it trivializes the existence of humans, uh, so to speak.
well, existence is trivial, and I think even if it was to be something of a of a like not of significant importance, I don't think that changes the fact that every single moment is still important. It's your moment. You got to live it.
No, but what I like about what you brought it up is the fridge is because a lot of the things are tested in game theories. You know what I mean? Like if you look back to a lot of the testing spread of disease was done in a game setting of how it could affect the world. They literally did that in a game. Which was what was that game? No, War of the Worlds? Was it War of the No. I played the game too, but I forget the actual game. But just like with now how you were talking about the navigation and how important it is, a lot of our boats, a lot of our we even have it in our phone. But what's important about the one you said is the further research and studies about it. High precision inertial navigation systems needs better technology, which they've been practicing and studying on, to enable space travel. Because they need to be very specific and precise on certain places they need to get to, and some things within space and as not as well on Earth is very different of how you calculate it, down to even just one, you know, percent decimal off. You could be millions of miles at a different spot in the universe. So what I'm trying to get at is, a lot of these games are used to in a way to kind of study in theory certain things and certain to see how certain things can play out to where it can build a small foundation to create a real life scenario kind of thing. Just like how I always like to reference to how Schofield Barracks haptic suits and VR technology helps them train for certain scenarios that they could encounter in the future, and stuff like that, which is pretty crazy. How they're using a game theory setting to provide real life, real world techniques. So that's to me that's mind crazy. Just like within the medical field, they're instead of doing live testings, how they would use animals. You know how like you ever been to school and you had to what you call dissect a frog or something or dissect a rat? Yeah, so they're now putting that into an actual game where would have VR goggles and do it that way instead of actually killing a frog or an animal to do that thing. So it's pretty crazy to see and to hear, just having even you just talk something about something you would never even talk about, but it's a game that brought up that that phrase, that word, that idea, so to me that's just mind blowing. All the time I see those things come about within a lot of a lot of games and a lot of things that came from the past, like Sword Art Online and Metaverse and having VR goggles and all this stuff like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, so like I suppose in that similar vein, Frontier Games, the company that developed Elite Dangerous, they used a lot of professors and whatnot, or information from, I guess, people in that science field. They were getting information from them to build the most realistic game they could make, and the way you travel um, between masses in the game itself, it's it was it's sort of like you have to match the frequency of the sun that you're traveling to, and then it slingshots you to that sun, I guess, so to speak, is basically what uh, it was described to me. I mean, not to me, but like the way I figured. And yeah, it's taking a theory and making a visualization of this theory, and it's really awesome to see that, and it goes even to all the other fields that it taps into the game, where transporting goods from one place to another, you know, within a solar system or outside of that system to another one, jumping from place to place and traveling. There was
Transporting of goods in your
Yeah.
solar
Oh,
system.
that's going to be the
That's
biggest thing.
something. Is that's monstrous? Because we're already hearing talking about things like how a lot of these mining facilities and companies are looking towards mining precious metals off of what now? In space,
You
off
know,
of big meteorites and all that.
808,
Crazy.
I can't, I was just talking to somebody the other day. I'm like, wouldn't that be funny if that's what the ETH rocks actually represented? Were people buying asteroids and you didn't realize it? That's what the NFT was,
What about the ETH rock picture that had no rock there?
right?
But like we see a lot of those instances where they talk about all these precious metals within these meteorites that's lodged into space, that's floating around. And a lot of those studies also comes from those exact same pieces hitting Earth. And a lot of what also that comes on those meteorites is also life. Some life that's probably never reached here in the form of some microscopic being. It's crazy to me to see how a lot of these things are getting not just how can I say, things are being built towards allowing these things to happen, and it's going at a pace that got boosted by a lot of these technology being more interoperable with each other. We're seeing a lot of boosts in building in the foundational layers throughout the technological world with AI, robotics, our own, even within our own phones, our own systems at home. Even look with blockchain and cryptography. Their interoperability is disrupting a lot of these spaces we see today, and we are joined in today. Like it's crazy.
It's very interesting. I love it. And Fridge, you said they for out of the solar system travel, they would create like a slingshot. You said using mass.
Yeah, you would have to match the frequency of the star, I guess, that you plan to travel to, and I guess somehow you can scan that, but I'm not. It never explains the actual science to it. It just says, this is what it does.
Well,
But it basically it is sort of like a wormhole, but it's not a wormhole. It's called hyperspace, and it just slingshots you to from one mass to the next.
Well, it definitely made me think of E equals mc squared, which is energy equals mass c squared, which is c is the representation of light squared. So, depending on your mass, is the representation of the energy flow that you could output. It's interesting to think about because I was also watching a video about this the other day. Should probably go post that up. He's a pretty smart kid.
That's crazy, cause each planet, each star, I mean, because of their mass, you also can read its frequency of its what you call that? The energy it pushes out.
Yep.
I forgot what it's called now. But you could read that frequency, and from that frequency you can harness its energy power. Um, it's called power source and energy harvesting. But I don't know if they were able to, like, how it emits, like the sun emits radiation and all these different energy sources that comes off from the sun and these different planets. Um, oh man, now my mind is thinking into.
So each star has a multi-sig.
A very easily readable multisig, that's for sure, because it's not hiding its frequency. But the the interesting thought also, Fridge, to like that representation in the game is a video that I posted already. Crazy to think that this video is already almost 2 years old, where a small team using Google's quantum computer were able to create a holographic wormhole attaching two black holes from the distant galaxy and sent a qubit worth of information through. And so, the thought of both of them, right? And then E equals mc squared was actually the equation that was used to produce the energy flow in the qubit from from one side of the wormhole to the next. So. I think that's really the direction it's the technology is taking us.
Well, even at that point in the technology in the game, traveling within a system still took, it could take lifetimes in general. Like in one case, I had to do a mission that took me 50 minutes in real time to just sit there flying in one direction for 50 minutes. Uh, and I think there's even longer missions, but most of the time people don't do those. So, but even at that part in the game, in this scenario, we still aren't that far along as to just travel wherever we want instantly.
You making me want to play the game even more. Because, a game at that level of detail always intrigues me because it's very detailed and very well built. You know what I mean? Like, I play certain games that down to a stick on the ground will trip you if you go that way, kind of thing. Or the fighting mechanics is really detailed to where um, when you pull a bow and you shoot your arrow, they actually have a time frame between that draw and when you grab another arrow of reload. Um, down to down to a realistic level, which I like those kinds of things because it makes the game experience as close to real life as you can.
Oh, the immersion in Elite
Okay, ma.
Dangerous is awesome, especially if you enjoy VR. It's better fit for VR because you're in a stationary position the whole time. It is a space sim, so but um, down to the flight mechanics, you basically have to learn how to crawl, and walk again. It's it was really difficult learning curve in flying. I mean, I've spent $2,000 worth in controllers to play the game. It's awesome.
That's dedication.
I was gonna
I
I was
mean,
gonna say the
like
same
I
thing. That's
am
some
I'm probably the
dedication.
worst person to consider advice as far as investing into things because I've spent a lot of money on free to play games, and they're free to play. So
There's a lot of good free to play games out there. There's one I like. Um, it's Asian based and it's a fighting one. It's and the combat mechanics in that is pretty mental. It's so crazy. I like it though.
Oh, gaming is a new frontier all in itself, and yeah, definitely let's delve into it if you guys want to, because I particularly think that I could bring up Zaha and Evernode where there would be use cases for.
Oh man, there's a lot of use cases where the blockchain mechanics infrastructure can help. I'm not talking about allowing like um NFTs. I'm just leaving that out because you don't really need that or even a token in that matter. But what really needs to happen is the decentralized nature of blockchain and cryptography in gaming to where, us as users could have control with the value that we put in because we don't technically have any control except for whatever V-Bucks we're given or Fortnite dollars we're given per value that we give into that thing. We can't take our value out, whatever dust or whatever. We don't have that much of control except for within that gaming platform. But Epic Games is gonna be one that's gonna blow a lot of people's minds out of the water as they have already been integrating different blockchain games into their ecosystem from Gala to Equilibrium Games is now. Well, not on their system per se, but within their, how can I say, landing pages and what so. They're not really like, um, how can I say that? It's pretty hard, but yeah.
Those are some interesting use cases that I actually haven't really thought about too much.
Oh, I can even
But
go into
some, and
more because I've been a big gamer for a very long time. and see, a lot of the places where a lot of the power, where a lot of these centralized platforms that control the gaming space, like really took advantage of them controlling the space. Like at one point, downloadable content was like you didn't have to pay extra for a lot of this new downloadable content. Now you have to pay. You like paying for a whole other extra game for something that should be, part of it already, like part of the main story. If it's a continuation, make it make it legit. Or to even other things, say you bought a skin, but you don't want that and you want something new. You could be able to sell that skin that you bought to someone else that probably wants it that's newer, and inside the game. And that's where NFTs and that mechanism can come into play, where newer people that's coming into the game wants a certain skin, and there's an older person in there that wants to probably get rid of it or probably don't need it. Or if it's probably a skin that's connected to a certain part of the game that you need that skin to, maybe you can donate it to that person, or that person can buy it from you to where they have access to that game or that side mission or whatever storyline that skin or whatever that comes with. There's so much things within that gaming scenario that blockchain and cryptography can do. But to me, the biggest would be giving the gamers a lot of that sense of, how can I say, not really, not really control, but I can't get that word.
Immutable.
No, can't get it.
Okay.
So
So,
if you're a gamer, Dev, will you be able to actually clone yourself and sell your personal character that you've been um, building up uh, as like a representation on different games? Because I know we were doing like the ASM brains for Futureverse, and they have like Gen 1, Gen 2. Like Gen 2 is like a clone of the Gen 1, and but you train the brain. So is that kind of where it's headed? Like like you train your character and then you can actually sell off your character once you've trained it and people can buy it?
well, yeah, that's definitely been a thing for a long time, and most gaming companies try and prohibit that. But just to like what 808 was saying, I think the biggest reason it's prohibited is because other than regulatory means and legal means, how do they profit off of it, right? If unless they're able to make some sort of profit from the means of the transfer, they definitely don't want to enable that to be able to take place. And one of the things that you said, 808, got me thinking, like the actual ownership, the proof of the ownership of said game could be done in a cryptographic means. And if it was enabled where there was because today, right, you buy a game, you can still go and sell that, and you can go to GameStop if it's open in your area anymore, right, and go try and sell the game back, or any distributor, right, Amazon, eBay, online. So the enabling a system where they could tack a royalty onto that, I mean, I can't, where's the loss for them, right? If there's more sales, they can also create a finite number of the amount of games that exist, and so it's a limited edition, right, limited games, and there's a royalty attached to it, so they have future value coming their way. Actually, it's a really interesting means of being able to transfer a game ownership. And I really could see something like Zaha, where you have an executable hook that could be created, where you know you make sure that if the transfer of that NFT is transferred, there's a royalty that is attached to it, and it's only a certain amount of transactions that can occur where there's a transfer of value back and forth. It's it also being the locking up of the asset and all of the different things you could execute from a transactional flow. That's like perfect.
We have Fortnite we can look at, who has been allowing people to build their build games and then have them sell it to others that want to use it, which is pretty crazy. You should look that up because they allow people to build games within their platform. But also when they use the games, they created a system where they will earn Fortnite dollars, which is cool.
Yeah, that is it is cool, and I do remember though they unfortunately them and Roblox they both got sued by the SEC, and that's why they kind of stopped what they were doing the way they were doing it. But I know for sure a regulatory means of change between the way that the assets were looked at, especially in the gaming industry, really needs to take place in the United States. And Micah is doing a pretty good job with, I think, defining, digital asset ownership and existence, and from the relationship between the creator of it and the asset itself. So I hope we adopt in the United States something of a similar thought process when it comes to the regulation, because these types of systems would be able to then coexist, and then your Microsofts and your PlayStations and Xbox is Microsoft, and your Steam and your Activision, they'd all be able to have an interoperable system between each other. It's definitely something super cool that I think is going to be huge in the gaming industry, and in itself, the gaming industry is growing at such a rapid rate. I think it's already at $53 billion worldwide, which is tremendous how fast the industry itself has grown. And I think even esports themselves will be like an Olympic sport one day.
I watched the Dota. Uh, um, oh damn, I can't even think of what the championship league is, but I normally catch several of those games, like Cloud9 and all that, or what are they? Anyway, yeah, esports are. Yeah, I like to watch those.
Esports is monstrous now. We have colleges that has teams that is esports where they go in off and they actually can get a college degree doing that. And web development and technology and computer science is all tied with that too, which is pretty cool.
I had to step away earlier, but I have to drop out now. Conversation was awesome. Later, guys.
Oh, thank you for joining, Fridge. And I'd reminding me, actually, let's go over the Evernote airdrop a little bit. For anybody that's just tuning in, feel free to hit the request if you guys want to come up. But and for anybody who's listening in the future, Evernote is going live hopefully next month, and for right now, up until December 11th, there's a registration. And so, if you were holding XRP and in a self custody wallet at the time of the snapshot, and you want to participate in the Evers airdrop that's going to occur on Zahao, you're able to click the link that I posted above on the Evernote Twitter page in their FAQ, where they give you a breakdown of everything that they're going to do and everything's going to occur for the airdrop. You're able to just click a link and sign in using your Zum wallet to register, and they're going to give you a little claim ID, which just keep that claim ID safe for yourself, so you can go when you clone, and well, should I say when Zum has the ability to generate and clone your address from that you're using on the XRP ledger to Zaha, you'll be then given two Zaha tokens, so it's no cost to you, so you don't have to worry about having to purchase anything. One Zaha is the cost for the account creation, and the other leftover Zaha is more than enough to set a couple trust lines, and all you have to do is set your trust line to Evernode and be able to receive your Evers, which you will then have to claim. And so they won't just be sent to you. It'll be something you'll have to physically do and click a button to claim, which I'm sure they're going to build a nice, easy UI to use. feel like I talked a lot tonight.
I feel like I have not talked enough. I'm kind of busy though. I hate to say this, but I have to drop off too. I've got family stuff going on, so it was a fun space.
Yeah, you don't need reasoning. It's okay. Nice shellfish. And so, I think it's would only be proper of me if I go over Zaha and Evernote a little bit, and then I'll probably close up the space unless anybody has any questions or any topics that they specifically would like to speak about. Or
I
wait,
haven't I haven't gotten any I haven't got dove more further into Evernote and Sahel recently. But I'm sorry, I'm picking more avocados for neighbors. So that's why I was kind of sounding all weird earlier.
you're picking avocados for your neighbors. That's so cool.
Yeah, picking avocados for their neighbors.
Fresh avocados. That is actually something I would really like. We definitely don't have those in the East Coast, especially because it's I think what was it, 22 degrees
Give
or
me your
just
address, I can send you some. I can fly some avocados out there, shit.
You're too much. Thank you though. You're very nice. Very kind. 808. Though Zaha, right? XAHAU, being the network that is 85% of the rippled code base that is of up the XRP ledger, but with the addition of not only the hooks, but a couple different changes they've actually made, starting off with the network. And so, I guess probably the most important one to most people is the incentivization aspect behind participating in the network. So by holding the tokens and yeah, not bad do transactions. So sorry, but by holding the tokens, you receive a 4% inflation reward every month that you're able to claim. And if you're running a validator that's part of the governance game, you're able to claim 1/120th per token that is rewarded to the participants who hold the tokens on the network. So there is an incentivization aspect behind actually wanting to participate in the network in this particular case. However, the UNL is still a factor, and so only members that are on that layer one are part of that UNL list. Um, I guess there could possibly be people who are trusted and that exist on the layer two in the future, but the trust aspect behind the voting of amendments and changes on the network is still something that's done in that trust aspect, and so it's only the governance game only has to do with the 1/120th reward that is given throughout the network. Now, so other than that, being a factor that exists on the network itself, the hooks, which provides this light smart logic that can execute these different types of transactional logic flows and have the ability to um, pull information and or uh, 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 execute logic based off of the interaction and or other logic flows that execute. Um, so hooks being something that we wanted to come to the XRP ledger that was worked on for 3.5 years by XRP Labs and the team.
Is
And
it just me or did you go out?
oh, did I lose Rug? Can you hear me, 808? Anybody? Thumbs up. This is an interesting circumstance. You you can hear me? All right, cool. It's actually I'm glad you brought up that you couldn't hear me though, 808, because I did look at my phone. I had 1% left on my battery, so I was about to die. Um, So hooks being an addition to the logic flow concepts that are able to occur on the network itself, being integrated into that rippled code base. So, right, 85% of that code base still existing what is the previous Ripple code, and then the addition to that light smart contract account based logic, which I should have added beforehand, because hooks are not something like a EVM smart contract where you have an application based second layer that then communicates with the encrypted layer, or you could call it the layer one of the network, where hooks exist on an account based structure. And so it's actually a particular type of a logic that you would accept and hook onto your account that would then be able to execute logic flows for that particular account, and with other accounts. Some of the other additions that the Zaha network is starting off with is the change to the NFTs. So instead of using the XLS20, which is the way that NFTs exist on the XRP Ledger mainnet today, we're going to have the XLS35 on the network. And so a few changes to this is the way that the NFTs are able to be quarried. And so the XLS20, it's actually very difficult to quarry the NFTs, and unless you know the account owner who owns that actual NFT. On Zahao, the NFTs being a class one object will make it so it's much easier for the network, and if you're tapping into an API to pull that information of the NFT. Another large difference between the NFTs is the way that you actually hold them. And so with XOS20, you own a page of NFTs, and so for every page, you have a 2XRP reserve, and that can hold up to 32 XLS20 NFTs, or right around there, depending on how large they are. On Zahao, every single NFT is like a trust line, and so that will need to be paid. I think the trust lines are only 0.2 on Zahao, if I'm not mistaken, today. So still a low amount, but needs to be set for every NFT that you own. Two other and 808, thank you for coming back. I hope you can hear me um, now, at least. Oh. But two other large changes that were done were to issued assets. So today on the XRP ledger, for issued assets, you're not able to use the escrow functionality, and you're not able to create payment channels. And so those are two things that are added to the Zahao network starting off, as the ability for issued assets. So whether it be a stable coin or any other asset that may be issued from a issuer, you'll have the ability to escrow those tokens, and as well as use a payment channel if there was some particular need to do so. And John, welcome to the space, man. Glad you're here. I'm probably going to close up in 10 or 15 minutes, but if you do want to come up, please feel free to hit the request, or if you have any questions, the bubble at the bottom right, if you're at the PC. Well, actually, I think you can talk at the PC now, right? Anyway, so it brings me to Evernote, which I like to think of Evernote as really the first use case, or large use case to Zaha, right? Evernote really being this layer two functionality that could exist and interact with any network, any API, website, business, right? Any sort of logic flow that you would like to create on it, because essentially each host is able to provide its own network and act as its own blockchain. But for Evernote to exist in a decentralized manner, it's utilizing the consensus of the Zaha network and hooks to distribute not only the tokens but the NFT registries. And so when you become a host, you have to purchase an NFT, right, and prove through consensus that you own and are registered to this particular host. And so this allowing you from just a single transaction, even if you wanted to do it to multi-sig, you're able to do split it up to 32 different wallets. You could essentially, from a single transaction flow, open up multiple host NFT registries, or uh, if you wanted to purchase computation and pay the hosts with the Evers, because the Ever tokens will exist on Zahao, you could do so with some sort of type logic type flow. If you say you were using an application that you had hosted on multiple different hosts and you wanted to pay all of those hosts out with Evers, you could set up a hook where it could execute those payments in one transaction that you didn't even have to worry about, that was set to all of those different Evernote hosts. And so I think the simplest way to explain what an Evernote host uh, gives is really this Linux virtual environment. And so any application that could be built and processed on a Linux environment is able to utilize the functionality of the processing power that a host provides. Just give me a sec while I put my tea in real quick. Are you able to hear me, Edwin?
I can hear you now. Earlier, I wasn't hearing good, but lately, where I live, service been very coconut wirelessly.
Did you say coconut wireless?
Yeah, it's been running off of like Dixie cups and string, but with coconuts instead.
Yeah, I loved it.
What's interesting because hooks, what it provides, what it can provide, because we were talking about gaming earlier. You know what I mean? Like allowing for such logic to be executed within the gaming industry per se, you can do a lot. It can do a lot for people themselves as well. Um, but also having a decentralized Oracle feed to be able to get logic and data that's not within the system itself that could help out within the gaming system and within whatever system you create. Just been on my mind a lot, you know, for a long time because there's a lot of things um that's data that's outside of the network that's also important that we could bring inside of the network. And there's companies and projects out there that's creating an Oracle system that can do that. And by combining both that and a solid Oracle system and a solid smart contract execution logic system within hooks, because you know using hooks to me is mind blowing because you're able to execute logic very specifically, quickly, cost effective at a level to where how smart contracts are used today. And people don't really see that, you know what I mean? Like how powerful that can be for not just everyday people, for even companies and creators alike, you know, that kind of logic that can help. And what I mean, how it can help with us, you know, as everyday users is by allowing control of our funds into where we want it to go and execute quickly and precisely and securely. Um, by had being able to do that, you know, I mean, like say you got bills to pay, you want, and you have a paycheck coming in, you know how much that money you get per paycheck, you can have that paycheck already before it hits you, distribute to where you need it to very effectively and securely. You can do that now, but it's done in a manner at a centralized level to where you know they always have, you know, you don't really have control per se over your value. So but you bring it into a decentralized scenario where you do have control over your value, it's still hard to do that. um but you know there is systems to where it's getting easier and easier as we're seeing growth happen within this industry. You know, we're seeing growth, evolution, more things getting built, more things getting understood by people within this place. You know, it's pretty cool. I kind of forgot where I was going now.
No, it's okay. You brought up oracles and data, and of course John's in the space, and I was like, oh, you know what? I brought it up yesterday, right? A use case where you can entangle Evernote, Zaha, and Flare and Songbird, or vice versa, Flare or Songbird, where you build an application where you want to be able to pull data from web APIs and or blockchains and asset information. And so instead of you building this whole connection of yourself to be able to tap into all these APIs, you build an application of whatever executable logic flow that you wanted to build into that application, and then you tap into things like the web connector and the FTSOs and the layer cake for the if you wanted to facilitate the bridging or the movement of between assets on your particular application.
You know what's
And
crazy
it's like
about that? But it's not just for your particular application. It will allow different gaming ecosystems to interoperate with each other, allowing the switch of assets between different platforms, which is crazy because to me, that's where I see in the future of gaming being able to interoperate at that level. We see little bits and pieces of it within here with collaboration within games, but on a level to where it's much deeper than that, we don't. But to me, we will see it. To me, I believe we will see it um, quite soon. Hopefully, with a lot of the next new games that's supposed to be coming out, and I believe one of the old time greats is going to be the ones to kind of portray that sort of interoperability between different platforms and different gaming industries. And I'm thinking it's gonna be GTA, but a lot of people there's some saying that it's on the back burner, but I don't believe it is. There's just too much rumors and people, you know how that goes already. But I believe GTA 6 or some kind of game of that nature would be portraying that sort of mechanisms in the background. What's crazy about it, like GTA 5, you could actually own stock markets and sell and buy product in the game and actually go to certain businesses, destroy their business to make the other stock rise. So hilarious.
and I think like an interesting part of it too to think about is like the decentralization aspect of what you could do to the actual application logics behind, where using like Evernode for an example, one executable logic flow on Zaha could create up to 32 different multi-signer accounts that could execute say an application logic on Zaha, so 32 different hosts possibly from a single transaction, and then from that account you could then put multi-signers onto that account and do that up to 32, and then further on the further accounts. And so you could create like this tree branch of, say 30 to hundreds if not more people who could have the keys or the depending on the way you set up the multi-sig, right, the amount of votes and the amount of percentage of whatever needs to be voted upon. But you could really like decentralize all of this too at the exact same time, which I think, even if we didn't get the regulatory means, I wonder from an application provider like, your Activisions, your Microsofts, the transferring of the NFTs of the assets or the gaming, like we were talking about before, right? Like where you could sell a game, have a limited edition amount of games, and the only way to actually access or prove that you own the game and to transfer it is to have some sort of cryptographic signed proof that that game registry is existing inside of your wallet. I think that's a tremendous opportunity.
Freaking Fortnite, yo, and Epic Games, Unreal Engine. Those these that one triangle is all from the same company, but what they're providing is so crazy. Because I literally, well, I did already. I built a game using Unreal Engine. It's wild, and I could launch it, and have people play it. Before you couldn't do that, but now you can do that. But it's not at a level to where it's easy. Of course, it's not easy. You still have to learn how to create your images, and there's a lot of planning and stuff you got to go behind it. But what Fortnite allows and what Unreal Engine allows and Epic Games allows is a platform to where you can create a game if you really want to put your time and effort into it. And when you put your time and effort into it, you can create a solid one at that. Um, oh, there's a game that can't launch because there's trademark issues tied to the characters used and whatnot. But oh, this one guy created one of the most greatest Naruto games ever, how I envision a Naruto game to be open world, how you battle each other and all this kind of stuff is so crazy. Then you got other people that's able to create other games. It's very so mind blowing. But they can't launch it because of certain things. And certain support not having, and they're not massive teams, they're like one person. But what Unreal Engine guys and all these guys help provide is a platform for a person to be able to launch a game and have reach to millions of players already. How wild is that? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
those tool sets, and they do have some very like intuitive tool sets that really do help you kind of jump in and start building like little things if you really want to, for sure. Yeah, I love it. And to take it one step further, to combine like the because the ability to create in a virtual environment, and how stunning the in virtual environment really is, right, using Unreal 5, and imagine Unreal 6 and 7 coming out, right, and it's only going to get higher definitions, and more realistic shading, and analytical processing of trying to recreate as close to reality, and if not more definitive than it is. And then it brings me to things like large language models. And so a large language model paired with like a BCI, where a brain control interface, where you are able to kind of think about the world that you wanted to exist inside a virtual setting, right? But for a large language model or a processing unit to be able to not only take that, but to be able to use a natural language model, so to to understand the symbolic intent behind the actual wording that's used, and the understanding of the feeling that's being expressed when thinking about the actual world that's intended to be perceived, to be viewed. I think the thoughts of how fast we'll be able to create these virtual environments where beyond beyond that movie, if anybody's ever seen it, Player One, really though, very close to, I think, that being a very close reality. And the first contenders that provide the gateways to that reality, I think, are also in pretty nice positions. But anybody in the space, please feel free to hit the request if you guys want to come up. I'll probably be staying, keeping this open for another 5 or 10 minutes or so, and closing up. We've really had been an amazing space. It's always a pleasure to have you, 808, and Shellfish, and everyone that came up to speak today. But we went and started off from talking about superfluids, and different atomic measuring tools using graphene and helium-3, and different nano scaling properties to materials, all the way over to space travel, to theoretical warp drives and wormholes, using all of these different mathematical equations that have existed for 50, 60 years, right? E equals mc squared being one of the examples. And then we've delved over back into DLT and gaming, and the significance of NFTs and the use cases behind cryptographic natures of the transactions and the transferability of items and objects. And then to Zaha, and to Evernote, we had I don't even understand how we spoke about so many topics in the space today, but it has been an incredible conversation. And Jerry and Shellfish, welcome up.
Well, damn it, you set yourself up for like this whole joke, and like I had to come up because you were like, "Whoa, whatever company sets themselves up is going to be in a great position," and I was like, "I can't come up and not say superposition." Like, come on, like he set it up so perfectly to say that.
Is there a company that's called Superposition?
No, but we always talk about superposition and whatever. Anyway, never mind. It was hysterical in my brain.
Well, that's all that matters. Jerry, though, man, welcome up. If you would like to jump in, glad to have you in the space, man.
What's good? Hey, you're talking about gaming and stuff and selling stuff. I remember a couple of my buddies were really into World of Warcraft, and they sold their account for like a couple $1,000s.
Yeah, and the thing is about this is they had to go around Activision and Blizzard, right?
Right,
That's it's like
right.
frowned upon. Now, here's the loss on Activision. If they could have tacked that on to their in-game sales or their in-game ecosystem, even if it's not in their ecosystem, but there was a royalty attached to the sale of the unit of that structure. Boom. I mean, they're in it. Why wouldn't I want you to sell your account? Play here for 20 years and go sell your account. Whatever. I'm making a profit on every sale of that account or that character of that item. You could think about it like, what if they break it down to items? Like, depending on what your character has, it could have a particular certain value in the game. Um, Regulatory means fall into this a little bit because you can't be looked at like you're trying to sell a security. I think though, if that was clear, and I think it will be very soon because the gaming industry is just this growing monster that is starting to really get talked about and noticed, and NFTs as well, being this cryptographic proof of the ability to transfer ownership, I think is highly potentially the going to be massive part of the gaming industry. There was also something we spoke about earlier where we were thought about like a game producer who created, say, an edition amount of games, right? An limited edition amount of games, as every game technically is a limited edition. There'll only be a certain amount of them that'll ever exist, unless you think of it as a digital copy. But then typically, I think you purchase like a certain amount of digital copy rights. It's not infinite. Depends on the deal, of course. But the ability to have the transfership of the game, right? Because you think about it today, if you were to go to the store and go buy an Xbox game, I mean, the only way for you to go and resell that, and people do, is like go to GameStop if you have one near you, or eBay, or an Amazon. And here's one thing that now the game producer is also missing out on. If they were to give you a game where it was digitally copied and all you needed was a cryptographic key proof and assigning from a transaction to prove that you own that game, here's a way for them to distribute the game and attack onto a royalty. And if you go to sell that game, they can also make a profit on that. And so it's not just a single sale from them. They have to just keep producing better games. I think it makes it also make sense for games that we see today, like your free games, right? uh to promote the items that they have in the game. I mean, it's the whole concept for them is that they have the items that they produce for people they want to purchase, and you're stuck in that game, right? And so what if I really like those items but I want to go to a different game, and they're worried, well, so if you take those items and you go to a different game, you're never going to come back to us. But if they were to be able to tack a royalty onto the sale of that item, no matter where you went, if you were to transfer it somewhere else, they're still getting something from it. I think from a gaming perspective, it just makes sense to want an interoperable system, because no matter where you go, if you transfer specific items that were created in specific that have specific owners of the accounts, they get some sort of liquidity flow to that, and I think that's massive also by itself. I also talked a lot there. Sorry. Oh, Chris, Vet, Gadget, welcome, guys. I'm probably gonna close up in like 5 or 10 minutes, but please feel free if you guys want to come up and have anything you'd like to speak about. Welcome up, Chris.
Hey, how you doing? I apologies for being very late. The Treasury Space has literally just finished, and a co-host, I had to do my duty and see out the space. So yeah, I just thought I'd pop up and say hi as you invited me. I don't have anything specific to say, but how you doing?
Oh, I'm glad you're here, man. And I know I was just about to say, man, you had a lot of space hours now, so I really do thank you for coming in here right afterwards, though, showing support. We went over all the way from superfluids to different nanoscaling materials, to outer space travel to DLT, Zaha, Evernode, and some use cases of NFTs there for the last hour and a half or so.
Wow, an hour and a
I want to
half.
thank Jerry though, because Jerry brought up World of Warcraft, and that's where that corrupted blood scenario happened, where disease spreaded like wildfire. Nobody could
What do you mean? Lit?
you know how you brought up World of Warcraft and selling of assets. I was out. I've been a long time player of World of Warcraft for a very long time, from like
Mm.
early 2000s and whatnot. But like they created their own marketplace to sell these items or their accounts, which I have done myself. But also, we were talking about gaming logic and how a lot of that were being used to kind of test things out. And one of them was there was a pandemic that happened within the game called Corrupted Blood, where if you were to get corrupted, your life starts to die slowly. Like every second your life dies. You die. It's like a vampire kind of thing where if you're in the sun too,
You like
you'll
poisoned? I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were like
and
poisoned or something like that.
oh no, yes, yes. So you're poisoned and you will slowly die. And it just spread it like wildfire. Like if you were to touch somebody within the game, that person catches it, and then the other person catches it, and it just spread it like wildfire, where they had to shut down that whole entire server before it spread it out throughout the rest of the gaming world in that game, which is wild. But that happened in 2005. It's just crazy. And that was, and you were stuck in an unavoidable death loop where you couldn't get out, just unless you restarted your game.
Yeah, my buddy sold his. He had his character. It was fully maxed. I don't know what level it was, but he sold two characters for like I think $1,000 a piece, and this was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, and that's when it was also very difficult to level characters up. Don't don't ask why I know that, but and so yeah, they definitely went for high value. Nowadays, there are a lot of farmers on video games in general. It's a very interesting concept. There's farmers on video games who simply just go out to make as many bots and accounts as they possibly can to then go and sell them for a profit.
Clans is one
So
of
it's
them. You guys
what'd you
remember
say?
that game? Remember that game, Clash of Clans? So I know a lot of people that were creating. Well, I don't know a lot of people, but I know I've seen a lot of that activity where they would be creating these accounts with a lot of extra tokens, a lot of extra diamonds or whatever, and already strongly built um base. So yeah, it's
Yep.
crazy.
And this is a great example why having a cryptographic proof that has to be signed from an account that owns the game to play it is like that makes so much sense for that also to get rid of the ability for people to farm accounts. And really what you would need is that cryptographic proof that accounts that's signing it to be KYC'd. And you don't even know who, you don't have to know who it is. You just have to know their KYC. That's all the information you need to know is their information is this account and this is the only account that they're playing with. And yeah, I
Game
love
security and
that idea.
game cheating will get a boost in integrity with having such mechanism put in place, because we see it all the time. Even in regular gaming, how cheating can literally kill a game. What was it? Call of Duty Black Ops, I think it was one of the games that got killed by cheating, where a lot of people would modify their games, their characters, and certain things to where they're better. That literally killed that game, which is wild. But having a mechanism such as having blockchain and having a cryptographic way of doing things within the gaming industry would provide much, much bring back
Oh, I think you turned into a robot for us, 808. Sorry, man.
is that better?
Much better.
That poison
But
got you, bro.
But I think that's where I was trying to get at earlier, how at much of a deeper level, how it can bring back better integrity into the gaming industry because of a lot of that activity that happened, and the selling of these different accounts and assets and guns, all these kinds of things. Um, yeah, crazy. Also having that value with it. If when you have the player feel like they have control with their value within the game, that is that is something that has been lost through the reselling and selling of extra downloadable content, where before it wasn't like that, to buying extra things to where it's like, why, where there's things that they can and should, and there's things that shouldn't, but yeah.
I agree. And Chris, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jerry. I just
Oh no, go ahead. I was just gonna kind of like just lead into the whole like the cheating thing, and if everything was NFT kind of style, I guess they barely wouldn't be cheating. And my example would be I used to play the first Borderlands when it first came out, and then there was some sort of hack where there was a gun that basically just killed like anything. It was all nines across for a hit like marker, and like so like that would really suck if you spend money on a game like NFT style, and then all of a sudden like somebody hacked at something, and then they're just like making these NFTs that just crush everybody.
To even like saying you're a certain level, but then you get transported into a server where everybody's level is like 60 levels above you, so you get whacked and you die like instantly. I mean, there's things like that that happens. Or when you're spawning in a game, sometimes you spawn inside the teams, in the teams and in the enemy area, which is like weird. Or you spawn in front of an enemy and they shoot you from behind or stab you from behind, kind of thing. So there's a lot of things where a lot of these mechanism can greatly help within the system itself, but would take some workings.
For sure, and I know KYC has been a huge talk in the gaming world, especially in the global esports federation world, because just like you said, right? Like you ruin the game, there has to be a way to say that you are not going to be allowed to play this game anymore if that's the decision you're going to want to make. And so I really like it, and even if it's from because it has to be very digestible, it has to be an account that nobody even realizes exist on a distributed ledger. They make a simple account for themselves, and it has some sort of KYC attachment there. And by doing so, right, you don't have to think twice. I'm not going to do anything that's going to get me banned from the game. I like to play. I don't want to do anything that's going to hack the game or vice versa because I don't want to risk it because I know it's associated with my account information.
That's what's why, because you remember before when you were where you're in the game, you're speaking, yeah, and it's like a open chat room. I mean, like before, you could be openly and freely say whatever you want, talk shit, mad shit, whatever. Now you say certain words or say certain phrases, it catches that, and and you will be soft banned, and you will be banned from playing or even speaking, or even being able to speak. And how did they do that? They're they have the information to where who is that person, what account, where they're at, console, etc., etc. It's crazy.
Yep, exactly. And I couldn't agree more with it, personally. Chris, though, I'm sorry, man. I went way past it. You were going to say something earlier, and I think I'll close up in 2 minutes or so.
Yes,
Is
sorry, Death. I wasn't planning on saying anything unless anybody has a question. Um, I'm more kind of like spaced out for the day.
Love it, man. And I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I got to close up the space. He's on here because he's so much support. I'm like, I got to get Chris to sleep right now. But
No,
it
I just wanted to come on and, like you say, show my support because I love your spaces, and I just want to, join and show support.
Well, I really appreciate it, man. And I thank all of you guys, Chris, Jerry, 808, Shellfish, everyone who came to this space and everyone who listened today. It was an excellent conversation. As always, I love the diverse amount of mindsets, perspectives, questions, and information that we get to speak about in here. And I don't know if I'll be able to make it this Thursday. to the space, but I will put out a message later on in the week for sure when I know. But I love you guys. I love everybody here, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the night. And look forward to seeing you guys in spaces little later, maybe tonight. Except Chris, you should get to bed, man, because I know it's late for you over there. Night, everybody.